Are you facing the frustrating only absolute URLs are supported error while using Next.js with Express? You're not alone. Today, we're going to tackle this issue and get your application back on track. I totally understand how annoying it can be when everything seems to work perfectly until you refresh a page and suddenly an error pops up. It can feel like a cruel joke, right? But don't worry, we will sort this out together. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. A user mentioned that after clicking on a product link, everything works fine. However, refreshing the products page leads to the only absolute URLs are supported error. Sound familiar? Let's dive into this. So, what could be causing this error? This issue often arises when the URL being fetched is not absolute. In Next.js, when you use relative URLs, they can lead to confusion, especially when refreshing pages. Let's break it down step by step. And stick around. I have a crucial tip at the end that will help you avoid this error in the future. To address the error that the user is encountering, we need to ensure that the API endpoint is being called with an absolute URL. This is crucial when fetching data from the server. Next, the user should modify the fetch call in the products.js file. Instead of using a relative path, they should use the full URL to avoid the error when refreshing the page. After updating the fetch call, the user should test the application again. They can do this by refreshing the products page to see if the error persists. If the user still encounters issues, they should check the server logs for any errors. This can provide additional insights into what might be going wrong. Finally, if everything is working correctly, the user can continue developing their application. They should ensure that all API calls use absolute URLs to prevent similar issues in the future. Fun fact, did you know that the first web browsers were text-based? Imagine navigating the internet without images or videos. We've come a long way, but sometimes we still face these pesky errors. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests utilizing environment variables for your project. If your project is hosted on a provider that supports it, you can set up a local and production URL in an in.local file. Then, you can access these variables in your code. For example, you can fetch data by combining the URL with your API endpoint. That wraps up that answer. Let's move on to another one. One user offers an alternative perspective on the error. They explain that the issue arises because isomorphic unfetch operates in server-side rendering mode. This means Node.js requires an absolute URL to fetch data, as it doesn't have access to browser settings. They also mention a second case, highlighting the importance of preventing HTTP host header attacks. This can be done by appending secret keys and tokens to links, ensuring security. Lastly, the user emphasizes that isomorphic unfetch is a versatile library that simplifies data fetching in both client and server environments, making it a great choice for Next.js applications. That's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. An alternative solution shared by another user involves using the package Next absolute URL. This approach simplifies handling absolute URLs without needing extra configuration. That's it for that answer. Let's take a look at another one. An alternative solution from another user suggests using process.cwd in Next.js version 9.5. This function returns the current working directory where Next.js is executed, allowing you to construct absolute paths easily. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. One user shared an alternative solution related to a similar error. They encountered the issue while using Hardhat to verify a contract on Etherscan. The problem arose because their Hardhat configuration lacked a complete URL for the Rinkeby network. They realized that while they had the API key in their environment file, the actual URL was missing. To troubleshoot, they suggested navigating to the Node modules directory, locating the Node fetch folder, and adding console logs to pinpoint the problematic URL. This method helped them identify that an API key was mistakenly used instead of a URL, leading to a straightforward fix. Here's the tip I promised. Always use absolute URLs in your API calls, especially when working with Next.js and Express. This simple habit can save you from a lot of headaches. And there you have it. By ensuring you're using absolute URLs, you can avoid the only absolute URLs are supported error. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips, and remember to keep coding confidently.